Welcome. I'm Daniel Polisar, the provost here at Shalem College. We're about to listen together to one of the great wartime speeches of Winston Churchill. The date, June 18th, 1940.
The whole fury and might of the enemy must very soon be turned on us. Hitler knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war. If we can stand up to him, all Europe may be free, and the life of the world may move forward into broad, sunlit uplands. But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all that we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age, made more sinister and perhaps more protracted by the lights of perverted science. Let us, therefore, brace ourselves to our duties, and so bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
There's a great deal that could be said about what we just heard, and a great deal that can be learned from it. I do not want to focus on the magnificent Churchillian oratory, magnificent though it was, nor on his delivery, the beauty of the language, the resonances with the past, but rather I want to look at 3 points that show us Churchill's leadership and how it expressed itself. The first of these is that Churchill enabled his listeners to see themselves not just as people fighting for their homes, people looking to survive, people trying to defend their particular island against a monstrous threat. It was much broader on the canvas that he painted. Churchill led his listeners to understand, and correctly, that the future of all they knew, everything they cared about, the entirety of the free world, all of civilization as it was known, depended on them, that the drama that they was in was not just a drama about them, it was about something much, much broader. He recognized, as great leaders do, that people want to play a role on the stage of world history, not just for themselves and those near and dear to them, but they really want to make a difference far beyond that for mankind, and make a difference he certainly demanded that they do. The second thing is that Churchill had a very particular kind of optimism. It wasn't starry-eyed. It wasn't based on missing out on reality. He understood exactly the military situation. He had been, for 4 decades, a military man. But what he understood was not just what the land situation was and the sea conditions and the air power and all of those things. He did understand those, and he spoke about them at length in the part of the speech we didn't just listen to. But he had absolute, rock-solid confidence that despite those things, the British would prevail, the free world would prevail, and the terrible things that he had warned about would not come to pass. That is, that his listeners would rise to the occasion. And that confidence inspired those who listened to them, those who followed him, with a similar kind of confidence. The third thing is, in addressing his people, he could have spoken down to them, and he could have recognized them for people who were probably scared. They were worried about what the Nazi onslaught could mean. They were worried about bombings at night and bombings in the day, worried about the things that they expected and the things that they couldn't possibly expect, worried about civilians and worried about soldiers. And they really were like that because they were human. But instead of speaking to them at that level, he spoke to them aspirationally, speaking to the very best in them, the noblest, the boldest, by telling them that this would be viewed in the future as their finest hour. By making it clear that he knew they would rise to this occasion, he caused them to become not different from who they were, but he caused them to rise into the greatness that was already inherent within them. The truly great leader makes those around him great. And that was the essence of what Churchill did. So what we see here in this speech, in these brief moments, was a man in the most difficult circumstances, inspiring those around him in such a way so that now, 70 years later, but I have no doubt in many, many decades and centuries to come, people really will look back and say it was their finest hour, and surely it was Winston Churchill's finest hour as well.